We are now going to look at a new method in solving a quadratic equation, and this method is called completing the square. So this works best when you have quadratic equations that are of the form x squared plus bx. So as you see here, your a value is 1. So a is equal to 1 because the coefficient of x squared is 1. And um, it also works best if b is an even number. So if it's a multiple of 2, right? Why is it helpful or beneficial when b is even? Because when you are completing the square, you have to follow these steps. You have to get half of the b value. You have to get half of the linear term. So when you have x squared plus bx, your b value, that's actually your linear term because it's the coefficient of x, right? So the first step is to get half of b, and after you get half of the middle number, you're going to square that value. So for example, here you have x squared plus 6. What is the b value here? The b value here is 6, right? So the b value is 6. We're going to get half of that. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. And then after getting the half value, you're going to square it. You're going to square the result after dividing by 2. So if you square 3, you're going to get 9. So where will this 9 go? So let me erase this one. So we'll have more space to write on. So where will the 9 go? The 9 will be added to the original trinomial. So here, so this will become plus 9. Okay, does that really help in solving an equation? If yes, how? So the reason why we added 9 is because we want to create a perfect square trinomial. So let me write it down here. We want to create a perfect square trinomial. Now, what is a perfect square trinomial? A perfect square trinomial is something that we can factor by using the x method. So if we look at the x method here, the top number is 6, while the bottom number is 9, right? So what two numbers multiply to 9, but add or subtract to 6 is going to be 3. 3 times 3 is 9, and 3 plus 3 is 6. So that means we can factor this one as x plus 3 to the second power. So originally that's going to be x plus 3 and then x plus 3, but since they're the same, then we could just write it as x plus 3 squared. So later on we will see how this method of completing the square and factoring it helps in solving quadratic equations. Okay, so what if the number that comes with b, or the linear term, is not even? Can we still do this? Well, yes, but it will be a little challenging. So let's get the value here. The value is 9, right? You need to divide that by 2. So 9 divided by 2 is 4.5. Now I strongly suggest, using the fraction form, unless you're looking for the actual value of x later on, because it kind of makes it easier to write the factored version. So I'm not saying changing it to decimals wrong, but let's see. So I have here x squared minus 9x, right? So half is 9 over 2. And then how do we square 9 over 2? So if you square 9 over 2, it means, let me move this round thing over here. Okay, if we square 9 over 2, that actually means square the numerator, which will become 81, and then square the denominator, which will become 4. So going back to the original problem, you're going to add here plus 81 over 4. So why is it plus, not minus? Because negative, you have a negative 9 in the middle. Remember, when you square a negative number, and even if you get half of it, so you got half of 9, which is 9 over 2 or 4.5, even if you put a negative sign to this, when you square it, the negative will be cancelled because negative times negative is positive. So the good thing about leaving 81 over 4 or 9 over 2 in fraction form is when you guys now are factoring the trinomial, you could just say, oh yeah, so x minus, and then what was my half number again? Your half number was 9 over 2. There you go. So 9 over 2 squared. So if you haven't seen the pattern yet, the number that we use here when we're factoring is actually the half number that we got from B. So 6 over 3 is equal to 2. So leaving the half of 9, which is 9 over 2 in fraction form, will pretty much help you remember to put that later on in the factored form of the trinomial. So those are the steps in completing the square.